Welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed our fantastic commercials we have on the stream for you. It's Deer versus Dark, and it is 2-2. Things are all tied up here. We only have 3 potential games to go. Dark grabbing back control of this series with 2 wins in a row.
Now we're heading to Whirlwind. Following that, we'll have Overgrowth and then Frost. So 2 of these 3 maps, tougher for Deer to hit these timings with the Stargates, hit these timings with his aggressive Adepts, get those tempo advantages. He won the series against Dark with last time they faced off against each other, and how he won the first 2 games of this series. But it feels, Valdez, that it's slipping away quicker and quicker, and the maps do not favor Deer's playstyle.
No, they do not. These guys, they had 12 minutes to sit in the booths and just think about exactly what they were going to do. I think this does favor Deer. He's looking a lot like he did before game number 1. Perhaps he was able to get his emotions under control and get a plan here for Whirlwind, because he is going to need one as we jump into Whirlwind for game number 5 of Deer versus Dark.
I'm doing good!
Fly, better fly, Jin Air. Not sure why the Korean commentators decided to do that in game 5. But anyway, down here in the bottom right, this is Deer.
That's right. His opponent to the bottom left is Dark. Now these positions at least do give Deer the opportunity to do some pressure by ground with his Adepts, a little bit easier, less risky. Because obviously, sure, Adepts move across any map very quickly. Timing attacks, warp gates, you can use the Prism, so there's no rush distance involved in warp ends for reinforcing. But if you're doing early game pressure with some Adepts, for example, because of the run back distance to try to go home with those Adepts, to try to save them, as so far they'll often get caught by Speedlings. And when and basically once you get to the later stage of the early game, I guess we'd say, I don't want to say mid game, the Adepts, when you commit them to harass, you have to accept that you're going to lose them pretty much every time. You're not running back to your third base to survive with those. So this makes it a little bit more difficult to actually get those consistent drone kills and survive with those Adepts to fight another day while you're trying to do the Oracle harass at the same time. This is also going to be faster rush distance by air for the Oracles to go main to main here. So these are things that Deer is going to be very happy about when he does eventually scout Dark's position. Did scout incorrectly twice, and we'll get the information in just a moment as he sends his probe now down to the bottom left where Dark has spawned and what he is opening with.
Looks like everything is pretty normal here for Dark, just getting that hatchery out on time. Did make the gas in the pool behind that as well. So playing out Whirlwind, pretty standard here. Is going to get the faster third base at the same time, even before 2 minutes have elapsed in this game. And at least Deer is going to be able to get that scout now. We'll see if he wants to get really aggressive on a map like this, where Dark has aggressively expanded so far.
Probe comes in here, sees it is going to be a safe Ling speed coming out with continued drone mining in the gas. Everything is very normal so far. Stalker, perhaps the least normal thing, but not going to tell us anything just yet. Just going to be used to push the Overlord away and try to hide scouting the main base. And now that we have the Twilight Council, that's the telling as to why he made the Stalker. We'll try to hide this with the Stalker, and I guess this is probably going to be Archon drops with the Twilight Council this early. Although, it is favorable positions as we were talking about for an Adept push. And Dark, blind Roach Warren.
Yeah, it's coming down pretty early, too. Has 8 Lings on the way. There's that Robo. And I think that Archon drop starting out with the DTs is definitely a good choice for a map like this. You got a very big main where you can sneak that Warp Prism on over, get them into position, and do lots of damage, especially if you do have the Stalker to stop any kind of scouting. But here we go. We got 4 or 5 Roaches on the way. This is going to be DTs.
Dark Shrine is going to be so strong against this. have DTs he can use defensively. There will not be an Overseer with this push. He's even going to get a drop Overlords in here, but I feel like as long as Deer reacts to this quickly, not only will he be able to defend this very well with the Dark Templar, but he can also send just one DT across for counterattack. Dark hasn't scouted this, as you mentioned. He doesn't know that this is going to be DTs. I believe the Overlord that he didn't send into the main base, in fact, is the exact one he's using for the drop, so he's never going to scout this until right now. And he'll probably want to make the decision to at least call off the majority of his attack here. Overlord is scouted slow. He sees it. Roach is coming across the map. He doesn't have vision of those, however.
Yeah, these Roaches making their way across the map. It is only attacking units, only 22 workers right now for Dark. He will get the scout on that Dark
He's
Shrine.
going to try to break through. Pylon's coming up very late here. The Lings are going to stop that. Actually, no, they don't. At least they stopped one of the pylons. Probe's coming over. He needs to keep these gateways powered.
Oh, boy. Oh, he doesn't get it off in time. There you go. Another pylon is going to go down, and the aggression out of Dark is doing so much damage.
The gates in the main, he needs those to make the DTs. Needs to warp them in. Might be too little too late. He needs those. All the probes are dead here. He's just trying to buy time.
Oh, man. 21 go down.
Just game. Even with DTs here, the DTs won't be able to do DPS enough quickly.
You can micro around them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As you're saying, there you go. One DT's not going to be enough. Only had enough money for one.
The surprise build here is the one that beats Deer this time. GG. Dark will take the third one in a row to take match point as we head into Overgrowth.
Oh, man.
Or sorry, as we head into Overgrowth for Game 6.
Overgrowth. I love that build choice on that map. I don't know if it was something specific that Deer did that sparked it. Maybe he's like, oh, you're going to make a stalker and try to stop my scouting. Maybe then I'll just go kill you. But he got the early third base in time to get that larva out so that he could make that push happen. And it's so good to mix that in, you know, Whirlwind, a map that maybe Dark doesn't want to play, you know, so much of a gigantic macro game. Instead, he's like, if it's close positions, let me just go and attack him because he's never, ever going to expect this. It's also fantastic because he won 2 games in a row. He has so much momentum, and if he can take a game like that with that build, then Deer's mind is just going to be crushed. And you could see him on camera, too. He did not look happy.
Well, certainly not. Had he been able to keep those pylons up, if he knew that was coming faster, got the DT warp-ins in, gets 3-4 DTs, then he can absolutely hold that. Sure, he would have taken some damage regardless because he didn't know what was coming. And even with the DTs, as you mentioned, the micro can be used. He will lose a lot of probes, but could have pulled his probes up, walled off the ramp, done a lot of different things there. But because the gates went down, were unpowered before they could warp in the DTs, it was just such a rough situation there. The build for Deer was actually strong against what Dark did. Had he had vision of it, had he been prepared to buy time there at the ramp, he would have been in good position, but he didn't know. He didn't have vision. Dark banked everything on that.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, Dark was very lucky how that game planned out.